How to knit sleeves using magic loop method. This is very useful for Rhinebeck sweater, cardigan, and other similar styles. In this example, we have a circular knitting needle which is 16-inch long. First, you cast on the required number of stitches. And then you can see that really you can't just connect to knit in the round. So this is what you do. You can knit the first round just flat. So in this case, it's a 1 by 1 rib. Sometimes, in some cases, you will be able to connect after you've knitted your first row. So normally you would connect after cast on, but here we're going to try and see if we're able to connect after the first row is done. So now we have a little bit more of fabric knitted after the first row, and we may be able to connect. Also, when you knit the first round just flat, it's a lot easier not to twist. So here, actually, we are able to knit. It's probably not the most comfortable experience, but it has just enough length that you're able to knit without having to use magic loop. And so as you add more rounds, it will get much easier. So, and if you decide, okay, it really is too uncomfortable, you want to use magic loop, this is what you would do. You split the number of stitches, you basically divide it roughly in two, and you keep half of the stitches on one needle and half of the stitches on another needle. Then you take your right needle, make sure all the stitches are aligned, and then you take the right needle and you pull it out, and you start knitting. It definitely takes some time getting used to. But just keep in mind that with every round it will get easier. So this cable is flexible enough that you should be able to do it. So just keep following the pattern. And when you're done with your first set of stitches, you're going to pull the right needle out and move the stitches, the next set of stitches, to the left needle so that you can work them next. Again, on the first couple rounds, it will be a little bit, maybe a little bit difficult, so just take your time, don't rush, and just do it one by one, like so. Okay, now we're ready to knit the second set of stitches, and that will complete this round. Okay, so we made it to the end of the round. And then you just keep going and you keep knitting. And with every round, you will see that when you have more fabric, it will stretch out a little bit more. And eventually, you will be able to just keep knitting without using magic loop. So let's see, maybe now we're at that point. Yeah, so it's really a matter of personal preference. If you feel comfortable enough, keep going. And if not, go back to magic loop for a couple more rounds. And this is what the cuff on Rhinebeck cardigan looks like. It is done on size 10 needles. In next example, we will demonstrate doing similar technique on size 13 needles. So these needles are 20 inches long, so you are getting a few more inches in length, but then the needle itself is a little bit longer, so it will be kind of a very similar experience. So again, we recommend knitting the first round flat. This way, it's a little bit easier to connect because it's easier to see the stitches and you're not going to twist. So we've knitted our first round flat. Now we can see if we have enough to be able to knit without magic loop. So probably not. So again, similar to previous example, you're going to split your stitches into two sets and you will move the stitches up onto your left needle. So that's your first set that you're going to knit. So that's your left needle. Make sure not to twist, make sure the stitches are aligned. And your right needle, you will pull it out and you will start knitting. Again, it does get much easier with every round, but first round is always a little bit hard to do, but you just have to get past it. So just keep following the pattern. In this specific example, this is a Rhinebeck cardigan using Dream yarn, but you can apply same technique to many other sleeves or any projects where you're working with a small circumference. So just keep going to the end of the round. When you're done with the first set of stitches, you will take your right needle out, and then you will push the stitches, your second set of stitches, to the tip of your left needle. It is a little bit difficult to do on the first couple rounds, but it will get much better as you keep going. So just be patient, take your time, and just keep moving them up one by one. And now you're going to knit the second set exactly same way, and this will complete your round. So basically you're splitting the stitches into two sets and you're knitting one set at a time. And then here you can check to see if you have enough knitted fabric to go around the needle, and if not, you keep going with magic loop for another round or two, and after every round you can check. So it looks like we're actually going to be able to keep knitting without using magic loop. So this is the benefit of working with a 20-inch needle as opposed to 32. With 32 or like any longer cable, yeah, you have the advantage of making your magic loop a little bit easier to manipulate, but then you're kind of stuck with that magic loop for the rest of the sleeve. And in this case, if you're using a smaller needle, yeah, you have to kind of suffer a little bit through the first few rounds, but then you don't have to do magic loop anymore. And it's, it's personal preference. If you really still find it uncomfortable, just go back to magic loop. And eventually when you're done, this is what the cuff will look like.